The second step of the Spiritual Warrior program journey and my new book, The Way of the Goddess, is about channeling our raw emotions, our fear, our worries, our need to control situations, our obsessions, our frustrations, our jealousies, our worries even, into spiritual power. This second step is possible due to the foundation of stability we cultivate in the first chakra with the power of practice. When we reach the second step of the spiritual journey with the ancient goddess wisdom that I have written about and have connected with and practice on a regular basis, is rooted in the spiritual practice of brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is the path of self-control. A lot of people have unfortunately really misunderstood what brahmacharya is and have basically understood it as being like being a monk forever and not enjoying any objects or pleasures of the senses and just being a wallflower removed from society. Of course, the monastic path is a wonderful path to be able to realize your true self. For many of us, however, it's not the path that we're on, and yet the Vedic spiritual tradition wants us to know that no matter what situation we're in life, we can cultivate it as our perfect ground for evolving spiritually. The practice of brahmacharya is actually what allows us to truly enjoy all the enjoyments and pleasures of life. It is only when we have the self-control and self-restraint that is self-imposed through the brahmacharya practice that we can actually enjoy anything in life. That is because all experiences and objects of pleasure operate on an economic principle, which is that of the law of diminishing returns. Let's take an ice cream cone enjoyment as an example. Say you really love ice cream. You think about ice cream. You can't wait for the next time you get to eat ice cream. Then when you actually have that incredible experience of tasting that cream on your tongue and it pouring into your taste buds and filling your mouth with this kind of euphoria, it's really a high at the beginning. Then when you're like, oh man, that was good, I would like my second ice cream cone now, your enjoyment starts to go down. And then when you go to the third ice cream cone, it's like, I'm not so sure about this anymore. It started out as fun, but now it's really not. And then, God forbid, you have a fourth one, or a fifth one, or a sixth one. It's just all downhill from there. And by the end of all that enjoyment, there's this feeling of disgust. Oh, ice cream, it's making me sick. I cannot handle anymore. I'm feeling nauseous because of the ice cream. You can fill in ice cream for any object of your desire that is connected with your five senses. You can also connect this practice with any relationship that you're in where you feel that there's a certain person or relationship that you need to be fulfilled in life with. And in the beginning of that relationship, or when you reconnect with someone that you're really interested in having a relationship with, it's all very exciting and it's uphill. But then as your dependency grows on a certain person, it's downhill from there, because that dependency itself, that sense that we need the ice cream cone, for example, or we need a certain person in our life, is what takes away our enjoyment and our pleasure of having the ice cream cone or having a certain company or person to spend our time with. When we develop more self-control and self-restraint with the five senses, then what we have is the opportunity to become the sovereign master of our own mind and our own body. The mind and the body and its fixations, obsessions, desires, pleasures is what really, really prevents us from pursuing a spiritual path step by step to really free ourselves from the shackles of our attachments and from the grips of our own addictions and our own compulsions that we feel we can't control. When we learn that yes, we can pull back from anything that draws our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or you name it, skin, then what we realize is that we actually are not our senses. We are not our emotions. It is not correct to say, I'm an angry person, or I'm a fearful person, or I'm a jealous person, because that's not actually who you are. Even for one moment, one day, you may have an experience of incredible joy. Maybe you love ice cream and you have an experience of true enjoyment of that ice cream. In that moment, if that's your thing, that's your object of sensory interest and desire, then when you taste that first bite of the ice cream cone, you may temporarily forget about all your worries, all your fears, and all those other negative emotions. Now, they may come right back the second bite that you take, but for that one moment, for that one bite, it was like nirvana. But when we have those moments of pleasure, of joy, they are actually the real experience of our true nature. And we don't need any object to connect with that. We get fooled, we get mistaken into thinking that it's the objects of the senses and it's the people in our life that give us pleasure and enjoyment, but in actuality, it's our own connection with our own true self that gives us and unlocks for us all pleasures and enjoyment of a true abiding kind in life, which have no opposite of sorrow or loss, which always is there with any of the worldly joys, which are coming and going. When we have something, we're high. When we don't have something, we're low. It's a coming and going phenomenon. The spiritual joy, the spiritual pleasure is an uninterrupted, unalloyed kind of bliss that stays with us even as we traverse through the external ups and downs, because that's just a part of our human journey and the playing out of the law of karma in our lives, which is what causes everything to be there and everyone in our lives to be there. When we are talking about channeling our raw emotions into spiritual power, we have guidance and a great friend here in the avatar of the warrior goddess Durga, known as Goddess Brahmacharini. Brahmacharini means she who shows us the path of self-control. Goddess Brahmacharini is equipped with two weapons. They don't maybe seem like weapons at first, but they really are weapons to help us to destroy the negativity in the mind, which blocks us from experiencing the unalloyed joy and bliss that is our true nature. Therefore, Goddess Brahmacharini has these two weapons. One is a kalash, or a copper vessel that is full of water. This water is used for cleansing and purification purposes. Every day, you can actually pour some water from the copper vessel into your hand and really bring to your heart and your attention one emotion or attachment you want to let go of. And then through the purifying medium of the water, you can really consciously practice letting it go and freeing yourself from it. This one practice has helped me cleanse so many attachments and so many toxic situations in my life that were really not serving me and blocking me from experiencing my own true nature. It has given me the power to rewrite my karma, to be able to change the course of my life. I was told actually by several Vedic astrologers about a certain decision I was supposed to have made in my life. And had I gone through with the karmic script, because ultimately Vedic astrology is a map of our past life karma, my life would have really gone down a very dark path that would have made it really difficult for me to come back to who I really am. I would have been lost in illusions and situations that were really, really unhealthy. And because I was on the path of brahmacharya, and not because someone else told me to do it, but because my inner conviction led me to it, I was able to not have to go through that pre-scripted calamity in its entirety. Of course, some karma is there for us to be experienced, and I did have to experience some difficulty with regards to this situation, but because I was so rooted in the brahmacharya practice, I didn't have to go down a whole path of suffering that would have taken me in a very different direction. Because of my inner direction on realizing who am I and really connecting with my true self, I was able to channel this great attachment I had to a person who would have really brought me down into developing my own spiritual power, and then attracting into my life all kinds of much more positive, supportive, and beneficial people who really wish to see me grow into my true nature. This is just one example of so many possibilities that this one practice can unlock for you. I think we could do a whole course just on the practice of brahmacharya, but it's here in the second step of our spiritual warrior path because it is foundational and it will empower us to be able to make a lot of really incredible transformational changes in our life that will definitely eventually bring us closer to our own true self and to the peace and the bliss that is our true nature. Along with the water cleansing purification ritual, Goddess Brahmacharini always holds a rosary bead necklace, which is known as a japa mala in Sanskrit. The tradition of the japa mala is that there are 108 beads on it, and we can chant mantras 108 times on the japa mala to protect our own mind. A lot of people use this word and throw around this word mantra without maybe knowing what it means. The word mantra itself means to protect, the thinking, worrying, obsessing, controlling, crazy mind, man. The true nature of the mind is to be shining with the radiant wisdom that comes from knowing our true self. But we get these clouds of distractions and sensory obsessions and attractions and attachments that create a kind of covering over our true shining nature. When we are practicing mantras really consistently, really persistently, really devotedly, we are able to clear out a lot of these clouds, and what remains is our ultimate protection, which is ultimately the union with our own true self. When we're truly connected to our own self, then anything or anyone or any situation can simply come and go from our lives, but we will remain anchored in the truth and in the bliss of who we really are. And that's the power that this practice of self-control in a self-imposed way will give us. I am so happy to be able to share with you what I have learned and what I have experienced on the path of brahmacharya, and how you can also start to follow it in your life to really be able to truly enjoy everything in your life by not feeling so compelled by it or attached to it, because that always ruins and disrupts our happiness and our enjoyment of whatever it is we have in our lives. I am going to be starting the Spiritual Warrior program on April 3rd, which is the second day of the Navratri 9-night Goddess Festival in the spring season. It is a very auspicious time to start, and we have such a beautiful set of teachings ahead that will really empower us to let go of the obsessions and the desires and the compulsions of the mind more and more, so that we can really channel our emotions that can take us off our path into our true power and to knowing our true self. If this calls to you, if you feel like, yes, it is time to put my emotions into a constructive path that will give me the power to write books, to create things, to become an inspired leader and storyteller and a person who can really serve from the core of their being, then I invite you to consider joining the Spiritual Warrior program journey with us. It is going to be a beautiful experience ahead, and you can visit theancientway.co/spiritualwarrior to learn more about it.